Ladies and gentlemen, there is a major backlog of evictions all across America. The courts are packed with landlords and tenants right now, everywhere. It doesn't matter what state you're in. So, this came out in the New York Times with cases piling up. An eviction crisis unfolds step by step. So evictions are rising nationwide. We don't know where the ceiling is, one expert said. So this one person went into the courts and said not only was it packed in the hallways, it's packed outside of the courts with tenants facing possible evictions. So they're talking about the courts in Indianapolis being packed, and Detroit, they're saying tenants are just everywhere up at the courts. And also in Gainesville, Florida, where landlords are filing for evictions at rapid pace. All right, so it's we knew the surge of evictions was coming as soon as the moratorium ended this past summer. And if you remember, the Supreme Court ruled in August that the eviction moratorium was unconstitutional. So this is hitting many different communities across the country, especially those where the distribution of federal rental assistance has been slow, where tenants have few protections. Now, there are some states locally, there are protections still in place for these folks. For months, we all use these terms like eviction tsunami and falling off the cliff, said Lee Camp, who represents tenants facing evictions as an attorney with Arch City Defenders in St. Louis. But those simple terms miss the complexity of the eviction process and the lack of reliable statistics to track it. It's not going to happen overnight. Certainly, it would take weeks or months to play out. And even now, said the available numbers dramatically undercount the number of tenants being forced from their homes, either through court order evictions or informal ones. Especially the rising rent makes seeking new tenants increasingly profitable for landlords. While the number of eviction filings remained nearly half of the pre-pandemic average during the first 2 weeks of October, according to Eviction Lab at Princeton University. In 31 states and 31 cities and 6 states, it tracks the filings that are also increasing. The first 2 weeks of September, just after the moratorium ended, eviction filings increased by 10%. In October, it increased by 14% from the first 2 weeks of the previous month. In places that don't have protection, these numbers are increasing pretty quickly, said Peter Hepburn, a researcher for the Eviction Lab. And we don't know where the ceiling is. Gene Sperling, an economist overseeing the Biden administration pandemic relief programs, credited the $46.5 billion in federal rental assistance set aside by Congress last winter. All right, so they're saying they have already distributed $2 million in payments, which have been made, and nearly a million in August and September alone. Some jurisdictions have used part of the money to introduce programs to provide alternatives to eviction or legal assistance for tenants. Just over 37% of all renters in the country live in places that still have local eviction bans or are postponing eviction judgments pending rental assistance, according to the Urban Institute. But elsewhere, limited renter protection and limits on the distribution of rental assistance are spurring the increase in evictions. Okay, no one should be sleeping well at night when there are still way too many painful, avoidable evictions, said Mr. Sperling. Mm-mm-mm. In Indianapolis, late October, Pamela Brewer waited nervously for a hearing on her pending eviction at a courthouse packed with hundreds of other tenants. Their landlords have been piling new evictions onto a backlog of thousands of older ones from the pandemic that are just now being executed. The hallways were full outside of the steps, and foyer was full. Brewer, who is months behind on rent, after losing her job on an assembly line at a home appliance manufacturer at the start of the pandemic. You look around and everyone's knees are shaking. What's going to happen? Brewer applied for rental assistance. Now, she accidentally checked off a wrong question on her questionnaire, so it got rejected. So she's actually fighting it, which I think that's a good idea. I think everybody should fight that when they reject it. Her appeal of the decision is pending, and she doesn't know how much longer she has before the judge will approve the eviction. I'm in limbo. Miss Brewer, I'm about to get evicted. I'm 61 years old and I have nowhere to go. Some landlords said the red tape of the rental assistance program has caused problems for them too. William Tran, who owns 38 properties in the Milwaukee area, said he is currently short $40,000 in unpaid rent, as some tenants have struggled to navigate the application process and others face long delays. It's just a really cumbersome process and it can be overwhelming for a lot of people, Mr. Tran said. Overall, so they're saying landlords collected rent during the pandemic about as regularly as they did before the pandemic, according to data collected by the National Multifamily Housing Council, the landlord industry group. Howard Spelling, a landlord with 37 rental units across California and New Mexico, said his tenants who were behind on rent received assistance without much difficulty. I've done better during the pandemic because of the help from the government than the previous years, said Mr. Spelling. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is wow. I don't see what they're going to do. And I know a lot of things are backlogged right now when it comes down to rent, and courts I know are backed up because I was seeing those stories even the end of 2020, how the evictions were being filed, but because of the moratorium, they couldn't do anything. And so now, some of the courts are saying they are backlogged by thousands of people. So they got to get through the whole backlog before they get to some of the most recent ones. So, like they said, it could be you could be waiting several months before they even get to your case if you're on the verge of being evicted. So, mm-mm-mm. June King was approved for over $20,000 in rental assistance to cover months of rent she was unable to pay on her Gainesville apartment after she contracted a severe case of CV that left her unable to return to her work as a nurse for 7 months. But in October, she found a note stuck on her door saying that her lease would not be renewed and that she had until December 31st to get out. She's been searching desperately for a place for her and her husband and two children to move to, but affordable options are slim. I'm really scared about being not able to find something and being left out there, said Miss King, especially during the holidays. Well, y'all, please tell me what you think. This is truly a big mess. This is another big mess America is in. I mean, I don't know how you're going to bring an economy back with so many evictions. It is backlogged in court. You got people leaving jobs at record numbers. You got retirements at record number. And America got a terrible inflation problem. With all of that, how the hell do you plan on bringing an economy back? And not to mention, remember, you cut all these people off of unemployment all at once, and these jobs out here are still complaining no one's applying, or they're not getting people to come to work, or they'll hire somebody, the person will stay a day and then disappear. Boy, what a train wreck America is in right now. And you think this is getting better in 2022? How? Really? How? Boy, you got a mess on your hands for real. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.